successful procurement that contributes to the effectiveness and efficiency of the government. The board employs strategies to identify needs and implement projects. It refines and calibrates procurement policies, adjusting to emerging trends based on needs of procuring entities. It creates ways to capacitate practitioners to better manage their procurement processes, monitor effectiveness of our procurement systems, and it adapts to the times, especially during national emergencies. The GPPB has strengthened the procurement process at the earliest stage, the planning phase. The board has issued bidding rules responsive to new laws and policies set by the government. GPPB has also streamlined the bidding process through the use of technology. GPPB has introduced guidelines to ensure timely procurement, especially during a national emergency. GPPB Technical Support Office pioneered initiatives to better assist procuring entities. Simple and competitive, transparent and accountable, monitored by the people. These make for an effective procurement system, responsive to the needs of the people. The GPPB, adapting, responding, innovating for nation building. To know more about procurement, visit gppb.gov.ph. Do you know that procurement is crucial in achieving our society's collective vision of a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life in the Philippines? Hello everyone, I'm Billy Bayong. Let me show you how our Procurement Policy Board innovates, adapts, and responds to our changing needs to enhance the procurement system and help the government work for us. An efficient, transparent, and competitive procurement system connects every Filipino to vital services from the government. This can help move more people out of poverty, gain access to better education, receive quality healthcare, and enjoy economic opportunities. These yield greater trust in government institutions and bring the country closer to achieving its national development goals. The Government Procurement Policy Board focuses on simplifying various processes to produce more successful procurement that contributes to the effectiveness and efficiency of the government. The board employs strategies to identify needs and implement projects. It refines and calibrates procurement policies, adjusting to emerging trends based on needs of procuring entities. It creates ways to capacitate practitioners to better manage their procurement processes, monitor effectiveness of our procurement systems, and it adapts to the times, especially during national emergencies. The GPPB has strengthened the procurement process at the earliest stage, the planning phase. The board has issued bidding rules responsive to new laws and policies set by the government. GPPB has also streamlined the bidding process through the use of technology. GPPB has introduced guidelines to ensure timely procurement, especially during a national emergency. GPPB Technical Support Office pioneered initiatives to better assist procuring entities. Simple and competitive, transparent and accountable, monitored by the people. These make for an effective procurement system, responsive to the needs of the people. The GPPB, adapting, responding, innovating for nation building. To know more about procurement, visit gppb.gov.ph.
The Philippines is going to buy green. Our government is taking the lead. The Philippines Green Public Procurement Roadmap guides the way forward by considering local business capacities, climate, environment, health, and value for money. Our government procures thousands of items every year to serve the Filipino people. When government is the single largest buyer in a market, Its procurement decisions influence the direction that businesses take. Green public procurement is about buying products which are low carbon, are healthier, avoid harmful chemicals, and are manufactured through cleaner processes. They are efficient to use and consume less energy and water. At the end of life, precious materials are recycled. GPP reduces the pressure on the environment. GPP is a partnership between the government and businesses. GPP opens up new, exciting, and reliable opportunities for businesses supplying green products. This in turn makes green products also affordable for private households. A first batch of 20 product categories has been prioritized for GPP, and more will be selected over time. The priority common supplies and equipment products are multi-copy paper, toilet paper, record books, cleaners, chairs, disinfectant sprays, trash bags, liquid hand soap, detergent powder, and LED lights and bulbs. The priority non-common supplies and equipment products are computer and laptop monitors, air conditioners, vehicles, fridges and freezers, copiers, paints and varnishes, food and catering services, training hotels and facilities, toilets and urinals, and textiles such as uniforms and work clothes. The well-established public procurement processes in the Philippines, such as the PhilGEMs, will ensure fairness, transparency, and open competition for the green venture. Everyone can become an active consumer of green products, which save energy and water, are not harmful for health and climate, and which are recyclable. The Philippines is going to buy green. Our government is taking the lead. The Philippines' Green Public Procurement Roadmap guides the way forward by considering local business capacities, climate, environment, health, and value for money. Our government procures thousands of items every year to serve the Filipino people. When government is the single largest buyer in a market, its procurement decisions influence the direction that the Green public procurement is about buying products which are low carbon, are healthier, avoid harmful chemicals, and are manufactured through cleaner processes. They are efficient to use and consume less energy and water. At the end of
Kasal ka na.
Di ba?
GPP
Pandemic, mag-close kunwari ang procuring entity. So,
Uncertain day.
adat ng
by considering local business capacities, climate, environment, health, and value for money. Our government procures thousands of items every year to serve the Filipino people. When government is the single largest buyer in a market, its procurement decisions influence the direction that businesses take. Green public procurement is about buying products which are low carbon, are healthier, avoid harmful chemicals, and are manufactured through cleaner processes. They are efficient to use and consume less energy and water. At the end of life, precious materials are recycled. GPP reduces the pressure on the environment. GPP is a partnership between the government and businesses. GPP opens up new, exciting, and reliable opportunities for businesses supplying green products. This in turn makes green products also affordable for private households. A first batch of 20 product categories has been prioritized for GPP, and more will be selected over time. The priority common supplies and equipment products are multi-copy paper, toilet paper, record books, cleaners, chairs, disinfectant sprays, trash bags, liquid hand soap, detergent powder, and LED lights and bulbs. The priority non-common supplies and equipment products are computer and laptop monitors, air conditioners, vehicles, fridges and freezers, copiers, paints and varnishes, food and catering services, training hotels and facilities, toilets and urinals, and textiles such as uniforms and work clothes. The well-established public procurement processes in the Philippines, such as the PhilJobs, will ensure fairness, transparency, and open competition for the green venture. Everyone can become an active consumer of green products, which save energy and water, are not harmful for health and climate, and which are recyclable.
Do you know that procurement is crucial in achieving our society's collective vision of a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life in the Philippines? Hello everyone, I'm 𝐒𝐿𝐵. Let me show you how our Procurement Policy Board innovates, adapts, and responds to our changing needs to enhance the procurement system and help the government work for us. An efficient, transparent, and competitive procurement system connects every Filipino to vital services from the government. This can help move more people out of poverty, gain access to better education, receive quality healthcare, and enjoy economic opportunities. These yield greater trust in government institutions and bring the country closer to achieving its national development goals. The Government Procurement Policy Board focuses on simplifying various processes to produce more successful procurement that contributes to the effectiveness and efficiency of the government. The board employs strategies to identify needs and implement projects. It refines and calibrates procurement policies, adjusting to emerging trends based on needs of procuring entities. It creates ways to capacitate practitioners to better manage their procurement processes, monitor effectiveness of our procurement systems, and it adapts to the times, especially during national emergencies. The GPPB has strengthened the procurement process at the earliest stage, the planning phase. The board has issued bidding rules responsive to new laws and policies set by the government. GPPB has also streamlined the bidding process through the use of technology. GPPB has introduced guidelines to ensure timely procurement, especially during a national emergency. GPPB Technical Support Office pioneered initiatives to better assist procuring entities. Simple and competitive, transparent and accountable, monitored by the people. These make for an effective procurement system, responsive to the needs of the people. The GPPB, adapting, responding, innovating for nation building. To know more about procurement, visit gppb.gov.ph. Do you know that procurement is crucial in achieving our society's collective vision of a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life in the Philippines? Hello everyone, I'm 𝐒𝐭𝐫𝐨𝐬𝐧𝐠. Let me show you how our Procurement Policy Board innovates, adapts, and responds to our changing needs to enhance the procurement system and help the government work for us. An efficient, transparent, and competitive procurement system connects every Filipino to vital services from the government. This can help move more people out of poverty, gain access to better education, receive quality healthcare, and enjoy economic opportunities. These yield greater trust in government institutions and bring the country closer to achieving its national development goals. The Government Procurement Policy Board focuses on simplifying various processes to produce more successful procurement that contributes to the effectiveness and efficiency of the government. The board employs strategies to identify needs and implement projects. It refines and calibrates procurement policies, adjusting to emerging trends based on needs of procuring entities. It creates ways to capacitate practitioners to better manage their procurement processes, monitor effectiveness of our procurement systems, and it adapts to the times, especially during national emergencies. The GPPB has strengthened the procurement process at the earliest stage, the planning phase. The board has issued bidding rules responsive to new laws and policies set by the government. GPPB has also streamlined the bidding process through the use of technology. GPPB has introduced guidelines to ensure timely procurement, especially during a national emergency. GPPB Technical Support Office pioneered initiatives to better assist procuring entities. Simple and competitive, transparent and accountable, monitored by the people. These make for an effective procurement system, responsive to the needs of the people. The GPPB, adapting, responding, innovating for nation building. To know more about procurement, visit gppb.gov.ph. Do you know that procurement is crucial in achieving our society's collective vision of a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life in the Philippines? Hello everyone, I'm 𝐒𝐵𝐵𝐴𝐬𝐧𝐠. Let me show you how our Procurement Policy Board innovates, adapts, and responds to our changing needs to enhance the procurement system and help the government work for us. An efficient, transparent, and competitive procurement system connects every Filipino to vital services from the government. This can help move more people out of poverty, gain access to better education, receive quality healthcare, and enjoy economic opportunities. These yield greater trust in government institutions and bring the country closer to achieving its national development goals. The Government Procurement Policy Board focuses on simplifying various processes to produce more successful procurement that contributes to the effectiveness and efficiency of the government. The board employs strategies to identify needs and implement projects. It refines and calibrates procurement policies, adjusting to emerging trends based on needs of procuring entities. It creates ways to capacitate practitioners to better manage their procurement processes, monitor effectiveness of our procurement systems, and it adapts to the times, especially during national emergencies. The GPPB has strengthened the procurement process at the earliest stage, the planning phase. The board has issued bidding rules responsive to new laws and policies set by the government. GPPB has also streamlined the bidding process through the use of technology. GPPB has introduced guidelines to ensure timely procurement, especially during a national emergency. GPPB Technical Support Office pioneered initiatives to better assist procuring entities. Simple and competitive, transparent and accountable, monitored by the people. These make for an effective procurement system, responsive to the needs of the people. The GPPB, adapting, responding, innovating for nation building. To know more about procurement, visit gppb.gov.ph. Do you know that procurement is crucial in achieving our society's collective vision of a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life in the Philippines? Hello everyone, I'm 𝐒𝐿𝐵. Let me show you how our Procurement Policy Board innovates, adapts, and responds to our changing needs to enhance the procurement system and help the government work for us. An efficient, transparent, and competitive procurement system connects every Filipino to vital services from the government. This can help move more people out of poverty, gain access to better education, receive quality healthcare, and enjoy economic opportunities. These yield greater trust in government institutions and bring the country closer to achieving its national development goals. The Government Procurement Policy Board focuses on simplifying various processes to produce more successful procurement that contributes to the effectiveness and efficiency of the government. The board employs strategies to identify needs and implement projects. It refines and calibrates procurement policies, adjusting to emerging trends based on needs of procuring entities. It creates ways to capacitate practitioners to better manage their procurement processes, monitor effectiveness of our procurement systems, and it adapts to the times, especially during national emergencies. The GPPB has strengthened the procurement process at the earliest stage, the planning phase. The board has issued bidding rules responsive to new laws and policies set by the government. GPPB has also streamlined the bidding process through the use of technology. GPPB has introduced guidelines to ensure timely procurement, especially during a national emergency. GPPB Technical Support Office pioneered initiatives to better assist procuring entities. Simple and competitive, transparent and accountable, monitored by the people. These make for an effective procurement system, responsive to the needs of the people. The GPPB, adapting, responding, innovating for nation building. To know more about procurement, visit gppb.gov.ph.
The Philippines is going to buy green. Our government is taking the lead. The Philippines Green Public Procurement Roadmap guides the way forward by considering local business capacities, climate, environment, health, and value for money. Our government procures thousands of items every year to serve the Filipino people. When government is the single largest buyer in a market, its procurement decisions influence the direction that businesses take. Green public procurement is about buying products which are low carbon, are healthier, avoid harmful chemicals, and are manufactured through cleaner processes. They are efficient to use and consume less energy and water. At the end of life, precious materials are recycled. GPP reduces the pressure on the environment. GPP is a partnership between the government and businesses. GPP opens up new, exciting, and reliable opportunities for businesses supplying green products. This in turn makes green products also affordable for private households. A first batch of 20 product categories has been prioritized for GPP, and more will be selected over time. The priority common supplies and equipment products are multi-copy paper, toilet paper, record books, cleaners, chairs, disinfectant sprays, trash bags, liquid hand soap, detergent powder, and LED lights and bulbs. The priority non-common supplies and equipment products are computer and laptop monitors, air conditioners, vehicles, fridges and freezers, copiers, paints and varnishes, food and catering services, training hotels and facilities, toilets and urinals, and textiles such as uniforms and work clothes. The well-established public procurement processes in the Philippines, such as the PhilJobs, will ensure fairness, transparency, and open competition for the green venture. Everyone can become an active consumer of green products, which save energy and water, are not harmful for health and climate, and which are recyclable. The Philippines is going to buy green. Our government is taking the lead. The Philippines' Green Public Procurement Roadmap guides the way forward by considering local business capacities, climate, environment, health, and value for money. Our government procures thousands of items every year to serve the Filipino people. When government is the single largest buyer in a market, its procurement decisions influence the direction that businesses take. Green public procurement is about buying products which are low carbon, are healthier, avoid harmful chemicals, and are manufactured through cleaner processes. They are efficient to use and consume less energy and water. At the end of life, precious materials are recycled. GPP reduces the pressure on the environment. GPP is a partnership between the government and businesses. GPP opens up new, exciting, and reliable opportunities for businesses supplying green products. This in turn makes green products also affordable for private households. A first batch of 20 product categories has been prioritized for GPP, and more will be selected over time. The priority common supplies and equipment products are multi-copy paper, toilet paper, record books, cleaners, chairs, disinfectant sprays, trash bags, liquid hand soap, detergent powder, and LED lights and bulbs. The priority non-common supplies and equipment products are computer and laptop monitors, air conditioners, vehicles, fridges and freezers, copiers, paints and varnishes, food and catering services, training hotels and facilities, toilets and urinals, and textiles such as uniforms.
to be followed by the invocation. Heavenly and most gracious Father, we come before you in prayer to magnify and glorify your precious name and to give all the praise, honor, and glory you deserve. We humbly request your overflowing blessings upon our life. We also take the opportunity to thank you for those blessings you have bestowed upon us that we take for granted and the numerous ones on the way. Bless us with love, joy, peace, and happiness. Bless us spiritually, financially, and also with good health. Keep us safe, O loving Lord. Those among us who lack wisdom, bless with knowledge. Those who are weak, bless with strength. Shower with energy those who are weary. Those who are blind, bless with sight. And those who are burdened, set completely free. Shower these blessings on our family and friends as well. Help us all to remember that we are blessed to be a blessing to others. Help us to help others even when we're struggling with our own difficulties. Lord, you know the desires of our heart. And you also know what we deserve. Bless us with what you know is truly best for us. Thank you for all you have done for us. And we declare that your overflowing blessings will rain down upon us today. In Jesus' most precious name, amen. Hey, good morning to everyone present here today, here at the PICC. And to those of you who are joining us virtually, online, via Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook, welcome to the 2022 Procurement Summit, being brought to us by, of course, the Government Procurement Policy Board, Technical Support Office, or the GPPBTSO. Friends, I am JU, and it is my pleasure to be your host for today's event. How is everybody doing this morning? You got enough sleep? I'm assuming that most of you woke up at the right side of the bed. Well, if you did, I envy you, because I just got just a couple of hours of sleep. Well, anyways, before we proceed, let me just give you and share with you some reminders, and this is regarding our summit etiquette and requirements. And let me enumerate them for you one by one. Let me just proceed here to our podium. Mic test. Okay, first of all, please do not forget to register. So if you haven't registered yet, please proceed to our secretariat table and our colleagues from the GPPB-TSO will be more than happy to assist you. And now, secondly, there is an allotted time for our question and answer portion. And may we request our participants on site to make use of the microphones. And we would appreciate it very much if you could please state your name and your affiliation before asking your questions. Thirdly, our breakout sessions will start on time. And may we request the participants to be at their assigned breakout rooms ahead of time. And in line with the event's theme, participants and exhibitors are encouraged to adhere to green principles and practices. Next, electronic certificate and participation will be provided to participants who have completed the two-day event and have successfully complied with the registration and evaluation of requirements. And friends, I may remind you to please keep your masks on, your face masks on at all times. I believe I'm the only one excused of not wearing a mask because it would be very difficult for me to be hosting here with a mask on. And lastly, and most importantly, sit back and enjoy. Okay, now what about a big round of applause? There you go. That'll be a nice warm up for everybody. Okay, to continue, let me give you just a brief overview of what to expect in the next 2 days. The Procurement Summit was initiated in 2017, please take note of that, by the Government Procurement Policy Board through its Technical Support Office, which was then conducted at the 𝐭𝐮𝐻𝐻 by Astoria. The summit serves as a forum that brings together procuring entities, suppliers, contractors, and consultants, and other procurement stakeholders, forging strong collaborations and networks among them to help bring the procurement needs of the government at par with the local market. Now, on its fourth, the Procurement Summit for fiscal year 2022 centers on exploring innovative and sustainable products and services as the government upscales its business processes with emphasis on protecting the environment by buying green. There will be technical sessions on innovative and sustainable public procurement. There will also be an exhibit that showcases products and services offered by various suppliers. Let us watch out for that, as it shall be formally opened after the plenary session. There will also be breakout sessions with very interesting topics, and I hope our participants have already decided which breakout session to take, since you can't attend all of it, as these shall be conducted simultaneously. And you may check the lineup of activities and topics of this year's summit through the QR code provided in your respective tables. For those who are here with us at the PICC and for those who are at Zoom, the Secretariat shall be posting the link at the itinerary of activities in the chat box. Okay, are we all excited? I don't know about you, but I am. Are you all excited, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, you gotta be. I'm gonna give you one reason to be excited. Well, we have missed the Procurement Summit in 2020 and 2021 with reasons we all know. It's that stubborn pandemic that kept us all at home. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Brace yourselves as we formally open the 2022 Procurement Summit. Nothing is stopping us now this year. And to welcome everyone and introduce this year's theme, let me introduce this very important person. As the Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, Amena F. Pangandaman offers diversity and fresh perspective to an otherwise male-dominated team of economic technocrats. A Maranao with roots from the South, Pagandaman always aims to give Mindanao a voice in her capacity as a public servant. Having served in the legislative, executive, and the central bank, she has a deep understanding of the Philippine bureaucracy, especially the economic sector. Pagandaman is not new to the budget process. She was undersecretary at the DBM during the Duterte administration, acting as the functional group head of the Office of the Secretary. She pushed for crucial budget reforms, such as the Green program. She was also a key mover in the preparation, implementation, and monitoring of the General Appropriations Act. She has a degree in economics from the Far Eastern University and a diploma and master's degree in development economics from the University of the Philippines. She was pursuing her executive master of public administration from the London School of Economics, but is currently on leave to serve the DBM. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome the chairperson of the Government Procurement Policy Board and the secretary of the Department of Budget Management, the Honorable Amena F. Pagandaman.
Thank you for that very lively introduction. Members of the Government Procurement Policy Board, colleagues from the Department of Budget and Management, presidents and representatives of our partner state universities and colleges, GPPB TSO Executive Director Rowena Candice Ruiz, Procurement Service Executive Director Dennis Santiago, other officials of the GPPB TSO, our development partners, and all of you here present today, good morning and welcome to the 4th Annual Procurement Summit. Before we begin, thank you for attending this event and for your sustained support and efforts for a better procurement regime. If you can recall, the Procurement Summit started in 2017 and was conducted yearly until 2019. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, its conduct was deferred in 2020 and 2021. So this 2022 summit is a milestone in the Philippine government procurement system as we reinstate its conduct. As a background, the DBM supports the Marcos Jr. administration's goal of ensuring sustainable management and use of natural resources by 2030. As such, the Government Procurement Policy Board will spearhead the implementation of the Green Public Procurement or the GPP Roadmap. The GPP Roadmap aims to integrate green choices in public procurement and put the government closer to its ultimate goal of ensuring sustainable management and use of natural resources by 2030. A GPP manual is currently being crafted to guide procurement practitioners in embedding green specifications. We have several common use supplies and equipment or CSE items with green specifications. And further, there has also been an increase in government agencies adopting green specifications in non-CSE items from 26% in 2018 to 58% in 2020. This aims to radically transform the Philippine market in public procurement and with the long-term perspective of achieving a sustainable public procurement initiative. This is the inspiration of this year's Procurement Summit, building strong supplier relationships toward innovative and sustainable public procurement. The summit theme intends to highlight the partnership and the trust between and among procurement stakeholders from the government and the private sector. In particular, we hope to encourage new business models that offer innovative and resource-efficient solutions that promote purchase of green markets and services. According to the Philippine Government Procurement System, or PhilGEP's data, as we transition to an agile procurement regime because of COVID-19 in 2021, the Philippine government procurement continued to be robust despite the pandemic. This is because we adjusted our policies to fit the changing landscape and address the emerging needs. Today, while we ease into the post-pandemic world, it remains essential to continue to educate our procurement practitioners and stakeholders on various innovations and initiatives in public procurement due to our commitment to efficiency and sustainability, given the large volume of procurement programs and projects. Hence, this summit hopes to stress the importance of exploring innovative and sustainable products and services as the government upscales its business processes with an emphasis on protecting the environment. As such, this summit features technical sessions on innovative and sustainable public procurement, and above all, an exhibit that showcases various products and services offered by various suppliers and knowledge-sharing sessions, with a hope to instill green practices not just in our procurement systems, but also business operations and even in our daily lives. In addition, the DBM also supports the administration's trust for a lean, efficient, and responsive government workforce. In fact, for the proposed 2023 proposed national budget, we facilitate the transformation and digitalization of the government to streamline the bureaucracy. We will pursue investments in information and communications technology to transform the digitalized government processes, records, databases to e-governance. Digitalization and sustainability are great priorities of this administration. So I hope that in line with these objectives, everyone can take valuable lessons from the summit. I also invite everyone to visit the market opportunities exhibits, which we will formally open later after the plenary discussions. Several suppliers were invited to showcase their products to help procuring entities prepare for our future procurement projects, especially in crafting specification based on the innovative and sustainable products and services that are available in the market. And so, I urge everyone to pass on your learnings from this summit and be champions of innovative and green public procurement. By working together with our partners from the private sector, we can take the Philippine government procurement regime to the next level. Let today be a stone cast in the water that creates many ripples of innovation and sustainability. My thanks to everyone here today. Assalamualaikum and mabuhay.
Thank you very much, GPPB Chair and DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman. A big hand once again for Ma'am Secretary. Thank you for joining all of us in this summit and for clearly presenting the theme of this year's Procurement Summit. Indeed, we are now living in extraordinary times, and this calls for extraordinary measures, including government procurement. We need to collaborate, innovate, and aim for sustainability. Congratulations to GPPB TSO for coming up with this timely, relevant, and appropriate theme, building strong supplier relationships towards innovative and sustainable public procurement. And having said that, we ought to hear now the message of our keynote speaker. Let me introduce her to all of you here this morning. Executive Director Rowena Candice Ruiz is the Executive Director 5 of the Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office, or GPPB-TSO, since October 2018, and has since been at the helm of pushing for a more responsive, agile, and sustainable public procurement through data-driven policy recommendations to the GPPB, implementation of a more proactive capacity development program, and use of technology and data analytics in innovating procurement monitoring. As early as 2019, she pushed for the Philippines' application as an observer in the World Trade Organization Committee on Government Procurement. And in the same year, the Philippines got its approval. Executive Director Ruiz was then designated as the Philippine Observer Representative to the World Trade Organization Committee on Government Procurement. ED Ruiz likewise spearheaded the digital transformation in the GPPB TSO with the use of available productivity applications and tools in the processing of transactions, moving from a paper-based to a primarily digital and online service delivery system. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Executive Director 5 of the Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office, Attorney Rowena Candice M. Ruiz.
To our GPPB Chairperson, Secretary Amena Pangandaman, all the other members of the Government Procurement Policy Board, our distinguished plenary speakers, Mr. Kai Hoffman, Mr. Marco Romero, and Ms. Maureen Grace Libria, fellow procurement practitioners in government, other stakeholders, and private sectors, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to all of you. It is indeed my honor to have you all with us today as we mark our comeback to a face-to-face activities in the GPPB TSO. I am also delighted to see familiar faces who have graced our procurement trainings, webinars, and fora over the years. But I am equally elated to see new partners, co-creators, and allies who share our passion and commitment towards a more responsive, agile, and sustainable public procurement. As with many similar undertakings, the conduct of our Procurement Summit has been deferred in 2020 and 2021. This, as we all grapple with the unprecedented effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. We as a nation, together with the rest of the world, soon realized that this health crisis has brought us challenges, but also opportunities. The pandemic pushed us to adopt, innovate, and more importantly, rethink the way we do things. And this cannot be truer in the realm of government procurement. And what better way to usher in this inspiring optimism by bringing together procurement stakeholders in this summit with the theme Building Stronger Supplier Relationships Towards Innovative and Sustainable Public Procurement. I'm happy to share with you that we have curated a two-day event beginning with a plenary discussion that will open our perspectives to the immense role of public procurement as an imperative strategy towards circularity. We have often heard about going green and the growing movement towards circular economy. But what does this actually mean for us in government? Is this a passing fad, or is this a paradigm shift? If so, how do we make the gradual but certain adoption of circularity thinking in government as a way forward to achieving our sustainable development goals, particularly SDG 12.7 on sustainable consumption and production? More importantly, how could technology such as blockchain carry us through this paradigm shift? How could the immutability element of blockchain help the supply chain be more resilient, open, and transparent, leading the way in enhancing integrity and competition in public procurement? I am certain that at this point, I have captured your interest and is now as excited to hear and learn from our distinguished panel speakers. So I would have to contain myself and hold off on saying more. After the plenary, our very own GPPB chairperson will be formally opening our market exhibit showcasing innovative technologies in infrastructure, information technology, health, agriculture, and education, including green products. So I invite all of you to take advantage of this effective marking scoping strategy. Later in the afternoon, we have technical sessions. Our suppliers will be telling you more, for our suppliers to know more about the modernized PhilJEPs and the value of greening our supply chain. Tomorrow, our technical sessions will highlight the simplified bidding documents, the GPPB PBD Builder, the GPPB TSO online blacklisting portal, and the recently concluded validation exercise in the rationalization of our procurement reports as the blueprint towards automation. But beyond this, I hope that this two-day summit will truly bring our stakeholders together along the path of shared understanding and collaboration. As our economy and society continue to transform, may we in the public procurement stream lead the way in not only launching or integrating disruptive technologies and sustainable consumption and production patterns in government contracting, but go further and institutionalize this in our system so that in the end, we truly achieve a more responsive, agile, and sustainable public procurement in the Philippines. And we in the Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office cannot thank you all enough for journeying with us in solidarity and trust towards this very challenging but immensely fulfilling mission. Indeed, as we say in the GPPB TSO, together we can make things happen. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat at muli magandang umaga po.
Thank you so much, Executive Director 5 of the Government Procurement Policy Board, Attorney Rowena Candice M. Ruiz. Thank you so much. A big hand once again for Attorney Ruiz. Thank you so much. I don't know about you guys, but I'm freezing here. I've been holding the hands of Ma'am Amena and the attorney. My hands are freezing. Is it just me or is it really cold here at the PICC? It hasn't been like this the last few times I've hosted events here. But anyways, we're going to be having a truly productive 2 days. So watch out for that. A lot of activities for all of you the next 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, as earlier mentioned, there will be an exhibit where our chosen suppliers will showcase their products and services. There are around 200 suppliers who signified their interest to participate in the exhibit, but only 25 of them were chosen. Exhibitors were chosen on a first-to-register, first-served basis. And with utmost consideration of the nature of products and services that they offer, aligned, of course, with this year's theme on innovativeness and sustainability. And there we have the logos of our sponsors and our exhibitors that will be presenting their booths later on. We're going to be proceeding outside to view the exhibits, but that's in a few hours. Now, we shall now proceed to our first topic in the plenary sessions, and this is the circular procurement. This will be presented to us by the Director of Sustainable Consumption and Production Projects, Mr. Kai Hoffman of GIZ. Let us all welcome.
Good morning, everybody. It is cold. It is very cold. I was also rubbing my hands all the time. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very important event. Dear Secretary Aminea Panjendaman, sorry of that, of the Department of Budget and Management, Executive Director Rowena Ruiz, Executive Director Dennis Santiago, and also the GPPB board members. I am very pleased to be here, and today I'm trying to introduce you to circular economy in 15 minutes. So it's a very large topic. I was extremely pleased to listen so much the word green when the secretary spoke. And I think I'm trying to get this message also across in my presentation. So first, I would like to put humans in perspective. This is the amount of mass in the world. And when we see that only 0.01% of the entire mass on the world is actually the human mass. So we are a tiny bit of a much bigger process. And we have to understand that we are, compared even to the animals on the planet, a very tiny bit. Next, please. When we, however, see what is the actual amount of mass that humans are producing, we are already exceeding the entire biomass of the planet with our consumption and production, the way we consume, the way we act. If this trend is continuing, by 2040, we're going to have 3 times as much as anthropogenic mass on the planet as biomass. So that's a little bit the scope that we're talking about here. Next, please. Our linear economy is causing roughly 90% of the global diversity loss and water stress. It is also responsible for 50% of the global climate change, and it causes 1/3 of the air pollution that we are seeing nowadays on the planet. Next, please. So what is the circular economy? Circular economy is mainly about value change. It should be seen as a much more an instrument for decoupling our economic growth from the resource consumption and from the environmental impacts as a part of a bigger picture for a global agenda where we enhance economical, social, cultural transformation needed to reach the SDGs. And here the objective is mainly to close and slowing down the resource loops. Next, please. Yes, once there was a nice time when we had a lot of value added for the value for the shareholders. But unfortunately, if we are continuing to look about economic growth only, and if we are thinking about shareholder value only, we will end up in the cave. So let's look for a different value set that we are pursuing. Next, please. It's nothing new to understand that we have to think about different elements. Economy is only one element. We need to think environment and sustainability as an integrated system. And that's the core part of circular economy. It's about a value chain change, not going for the least economic, for the least cost paradigm, but looking for an integrated value system for the procurement. Next, please. So what is it actually when we talk about this in circular procurement? Next. There are 4 systemic dimensions for resource efficiency or circular economy, and that comes from the International Resource Panel. For the most frameworks, we can summarize it that the first thing should be we should procure better. Minimize the product needs through better system design. And that's where I liked also when it was written in your introduction that there should be innovation in the procurement. So the first is about refusing and rethinking strategies. Of course, it's very difficult to talk to procurers and first talk about not to procure something. But allow me to show you how not to procure something. Next, please. So I took this example here from the car. On the left side, let's look on the material impact. A typical car in France, this is the example from France, is actually driving 5% of its lifespan. And during this 5%, we are using the car for mobility for actually only less than 1.5%. So this is actually the car that is standing around all the time in traffic jam, looking for parking or blocking our cities. The rest of the 95%, this valuable asset is standing around. And let's look at the fuel consumption. The so-called dead weight ratio is 12:1 in fuel consumption in a car, meaning energy loss is massive. We're talking about 86% of energy loss. The actual fuel that we need, the energy from fossil fuels that we are using to move somebody from A to B, is this tiny blue dot there on the top. That's how inefficient we are with our resources. Next, please. So how do we do this differently? It is mainly by rethinking how we procure. I took this example here from, it happened to be in Germany, in Bremen, okay? And this is, they didn't buy any car for the government. They said, no, we don't need cars. What we need is mobility. What we need is that our public servants can go from A to B and that they can have access to mobility. So they innovate, they actually procured a car sharing service and had availability all the time. It was an EV car sharing service, so even they reduced the impact dramatically. That's a city government who basically chose a completely different approach to procurement than procuring a car. Next, please. So this, next, please. Yeah. So to refuse and rethink strategies is from product maximization to think about human needs. It's not about owning, but it's about having access to things. So we don't necessarily need a car. What we need is mobility. We don't necessarily need light, a light bulb. What we need is actually lighting. So, and think about it also from this way. Light bulbs sold to the consumers are the basis for the product producer's profit. So basically there is a huge interest of the producer to sell you more light bulbs. And that is called planned obsolescence. That means after a while, the light bulb breaks and you sell you a new light bulb. However, if the producer is having a light, then the light bulbs used to provide the light to the consumers are the producer's cost, because it's their asset to produce their service. So that's a very big difference and a very big incentive shift in the economy, which I think is extremely important when we talk about circular economy. Next, please. The second one is thinking about leaner, reducing strategies for manufacturing and use. Next, please, here. Next, next. So, of course, we have to think about optimizing the product strategies. On the one hand side, we have the environmental objectives that we have in mind. We can also add here the social objectives. But on the other side, of course, we have the procurer's objective. And I'm very aware that procurement of something needs to be also very sure. You always need to be ensured that there is a product that is green and that that product is also certified green and that it's not just greenwashing. And a procurer hates to put technical specification in which are complex and then has to go to the auditor and has to explain why these technical specifications are in there. So in order to do that, we believe that, or the best method is working on eco-labels. Eco-labels, type 1 eco-labels, you have a type 1 eco-label here in the Philippines, Green Choice Philippines. And this is a certified third-party process where you can say, yes, the product is actually green. You also have from the Department of Energy an energy certification, energy efficiency certification, which is also third-party verified. That means you can be sure that this product doesn't only claim it is green, it actually is green because it has been tested by laboratories and so on. So this is why eco-labels become so important as a verification instrument and also as a market penetration instrument, because you are identifying the green products on the market, and then you can choose it and say, yes, that is actually a green product. I'm believing in this. So this is one of the things that we are working here with the government of the Philippines, and I'm very proud to know that 𝐒𝐿 is supporting us here greatly in this aspect. Thank you. Next, please. I want to give you an example from your neighbor. And this is an example, a case study that we have done in Malaysia. It's called the MyReLamp project. What we did is we worked with 4 cities governments, and 4 city governments replaced the traditional street lighting, and they replaced it with LED street lighting. What they did is we had a couple of innovative instruments in there. We did innovative circular economy financing because, again, we didn't use the budget of the government. We used private sector money, manufacturer money, and they basically placed the LED lights on the streets and changed them. And then the government was leasing back the assets over a long period of time, which makes it much, much easier, because I know that city governments have a big problem. At the beginning, they don't have like the massive amount of budget to change all the infrastructure, but the manufacturers might, and they are very eager, and then they lease back. We can also use energy performance contracting, which is a bit more complex, third-party financed aspect, but we have done that only in 1 city. The other cities preferred to go for leasing. Then we also used circular economy utilization. So dynamic dimming of street lighting was reducing the energy consumptions again by 30%. When there is no car on the street, we don't need light. And this was also another aspect which reduced the energy consumption. We used circular economy standards. So we used the type 1 eco-label. So Malaysia has now certified LED street lamps. And we used CE tender. That means during the tender evaluation, we used life cycle costing as one aspect, and the verification was done with the 𝐒𝐿 brand mark. I really encourage you to look at this case study. It's a very good one with numbers and everything behind it. Next, please. Oh yeah, I actually put the numbers here. So you can see, and that is, I think, is also something very important. There was not only the annual cost reduction, so there was cost reduction in all the cities. We also have annual energy savings, and we have greenhouse gas savings. And that was calculated. And I'm very happy and proud also that we are going to install here a monitoring system in the Philippines, where we're also going to monitor greenhouse gas emission and cost saving of green public procurement. Next, please. So longer, maximizing lifestyle product service strategies. That's the third, let's say, strategy to develop circular economy in procurement. Next, please. And this is here, we had just a conference, and a lot of your Filipino colleagues were also there. We had that conference in Bangkok. And we introduced the European SPI Sustainable Product Initiative. The European Union Commission has launched the Circular Economy Action Plan of the European Union, and parts of this is the Sustainable Product Initiative. And the strategies behind it, I would like to introduce very quickly. So the first thing is Green Matter to develop eco-design requirements. What does it actually mean? Eco-design means we want to make sustainable product the norm, the new normal. We don't want to work anymore on voluntary standards. We are making green standards the new normal in the European Union with minimum standards. And that is the explicit goal of this SPI in the future. And that, of course, has also implications for supply chains that sometimes reach all the way to Southeast Asia. So this is the eco-design requirements. The second one is the environmental information sustainability. This is also very important. I've already talked about eco-labels, but much more important is that we start in the European Union now to introduce digital passports, product passports, meaning that batteries, for example, which is the new battleground of the world, we want to know all the minerals and all the aspects, how this battery is produced, where do the minerals come from, where do the chemicals come from, all the way down the supply chain. We're going to do this also for the textile sector, and hopefully more and more sectors will come. So this is informational specification in tenders is a very important thing what you can introduce here as a procurer. I don't want to talk about prevention destruction. I want to prevent destruction. I want to talk about sustainable business model. I've already talked about functional procurement. For example, through product service system, I have the car sharing model is one of the examples. And then, of course, life cycle costing used during the tender evaluation. And last but not least, and that's also the second part, and we have heard a lot of times about green public procurement, a very important aspect is to wake the multi-billion giant, and that is the green government's budget. Here in the Philippines, I think, Rowena, please help me, 20% of the budget is almost GDP from the government? 12. So 12%, one sole procurer, 12%, that is a lot of procurement power to change markets. So next, please. This is the recommendations that I have just taken basically from the European Unions, and we have talked about them. Use at the systemic level the product service system and public-private partnership, as we have seen also in Malaysia, cooperation with other organizations, sharing and reuse systems as a procurement. Rent, lease more than buy and procure, like don't accumulate assets, accumulate access to assets, and also integrate supplier take-back schemes in the tender specification, which allows the resources and the assets to remain in the hands of the suppliers. Supplier level, take design for disassembly, so design for recycling, design for disassembly, design for reuse is the keywords that the European Union is currently bringing forward. Repairability standards, also enhanced warranties and guarantees, a very important topic coming from the consumer protection side. Then we go to the product side, where we talk about the materials in the product can be identified. So there is the informational aspect again, and we can also ensure for example, in batteries and in cell phones, that no conflict minerals are used, which is a very important aspect because a lot of minerals are deriving from conflict zones in the world. Then recyclable materials and resource efficiency, total cost of ownership. That's a little bit of the recommendations that the European Union puts forward for circular procurement. Thank you. Next, please. So coming back to the beginning, I think the circular economy is not a new thing. When we look at nature, there is no waste. We don't need waste. Circular economy in nature means that everything is reused, that everything is decomposed, that there is a multiple use of resources in nature. So we have to just start to act accordingly. I think then nature is our best guide. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kai agrees, it's so cold, especially here on stage. The lights, it doesn't do anything. It's freezing on stage. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, Mr. Kai. Once again, a big hand for Mr. Kai Hoffman, Director of Sustainable Consumption and Production Projects of GIZ. And as early as now, before we go on further with the rest of the program and our other topics of presentation, we are going to be having our mandatory picture taking. Oh yes, picture taking. We're all used to that with our selfies and everything, but we're going to take a different approach this time. May we request all our guests and all our participants to just please stand up where you are. And may I call on, yes, our photographers are ready. This is the exact opposite of what we are used to. Our photographers are going to be taking the pictures from here on stage. Make sure everyone can be seen. We are going to try our very best to fit everyone in just one frame. And even if, maybe we can take off our masks just for this photo. Yes, we can do that. And don't forget to smile. Just a few more. Kita ba sila lahat, sir? Kita naman, ano? Yeah, they have their zoom lenses. Okay, one more massive photo at the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Smile, everyone. And there we go. Yes. That was different. That was cool. And now, earlier than scheduled, I would now like to invite you guys to witness the ribbon cutting and partake in the unveiling ceremony of the Market Opportunities exhibit. And may I once again request our Honorable Secretary, Amena Pangandaman, to lead the ribbon cutting, to be joined by our panelists and guests from the member agencies of the GPPB and guests from development partners. May I request our dear participants to please proceed to the exhibit area for the ribbon cutting ceremony. I'll see you all there. Hello and welcome back to our session hall. Please do continue to enjoy your breakfast, your sandwiches. Those sandwiches look really good. Enjoy them together with your coffee or your drinks, whatever you have there in front of you. Now, hey, in case, well, I'm assuming that most of you, if not all of you, have registered already. In case you haven't, please do have yourself registered. Proceed to our secretariat table outside and make sure you are registered. And that goes as well to our friends online. Make sure you are registered. And now we are moving on to another interesting topic, and it's up next. And this is about blockchain technology in supply sourcing and delivery. To present this, I would like to welcome another key speaker for this morning. Marco is a platform lead for blockchain in Union Bank. He finished BS Business Economics from UP Diliman. He has 5 years of experience in blockchain. His interest with the technology started in 2017 and has since been involved with the tech. He has experience in designing and building products for enterprise and public use. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the platform lead for blockchain of the Union Bank of the Philippines. Let's welcome on stage Mr. Marco Romero.
Morning, guys. Good morning, participants. Again, I'm Marco Romero, platform lead for blockchain in Union Bank. And can we get the slides up? Okay, and for today, I will be talking about blockchain for the supply chain. Next slide, please. Okay, so normally I actually have a bit more time to talk about blockchain. Normally it's about 30 minutes to 1 hour because it's how long to actually discuss blockchain. But for 15 minutes, I'm gonna focus on the important stuff and how we can apply it for the supply chain. So let's differentiate how blockchain would work compared to current technology. So for the current technology and how things work right now is we have a database. And in this database, it's going to be controlled by one entity, be it a private institution or a public entity. This entity controls all access that happens to this database. They decide what you can view and they decide what you can write. And the difficult thing about this is when that entity decides to censor data because they don't just really nothing we can do about it. For the blockchain, it is a distributed ledger. In this case, instead of having one entity control the whole database, we have all the participants having a copy of that ledger. And when they want to read or write a transaction without ledger, they can do it directly because they all have a copy of that node. And they don't need permission from a central entity to actually commit any transactions to that ledger. Next slide. Okay, so what do we get when we apply blockchain to a project? First is decentralization. Decentralization in the form of everybody having access to that ledger. And in this case, they have a copy of it, the complete copy of that ledger. So even for transactions they don't need, they'll have that on them. This is good for when they want to transact directly or when other parties limit the capabilities that they are showing. This also introduces redundancy to the network in the sense that when in the traditional design, when the entity pulling the central database goes down, you normally have to wait for them to go back up for you to access the data. But in the case of blockchain, because everybody has a node, if a participant's system goes down, you don't really have to care because your node is up. you can continue transacting with the blockchain, reading the data, and writing the blocks as long as your node is up or any other node you're connecting to is still up. Okay, next. Next is immutability. One of the basic aspects of blockchain is that records on the blockchain are permanent. This is good for cases of where auditability and provenance is important. Because on the blockchain, once it's on there, there is no way to delete a transaction or to tamper with it. And this makes it a core feature in the sense that you can trust the data there because it won't magically disappear. Malicious actors can't just remove a transaction. They can't hide a transaction. They can't tamper a transaction. But also, this could be difficult for cases wherein you actually have to edit the transaction for legitimate purposes. Next slide. Okay, next, blockchain is trustless. Trustless does not mean untrustworthy. Trustless means that you do not need to trust any one person, system, or entity that what they're saying is the truth. You don't need to go to their web app and see that, okay, this is what's happening. I'm just going to take it as truth because you can connect directly to the blockchain and see what's actually happening. And you don't trust a person, you trust the system. Okay, next. So I'm going to talk about the benefits of blockchain for the supply chain. Next, please. So what can we achieve? First is transparency. For the supply chain, transparency is important because we want to check the transactions are happening, that provenance exists for these transactions. We want to be able to ensure that the required participants have the correct access to the data that they need. In blockchain, this is inherent so that people who have access to the nodes can see everything happening. This is also a double-edged sword in the case that they might see data that you might not want them to see. So it is part of the design process in blockchain to actually decide what goes on the blockchain, because for some data, it might be sensitive in the case wherein, for example, you have a preferred client you're offering discounted rates to. Those rates might not be something you want other people to see. But because of the inherent transparency of the blockchain, it becomes open to everybody. And now, these participants or other participants that see these rates might just begin asking, hey, I want those rates as well. All right, so it's a matter of deciding what gets on the blockchain, but inherently, it is transparent. So what else can we get on blockchain? Next slide, please. A very interesting aspect of blockchain is the capability to tokenize. Tokenization is when we put an asset and digitize it and, well, just put it on the blockchain. So now, instead of just residing in the physical world, it has a digital representation that is something you cannot dispute. So what can we tokenize on the blockchain for supply chain? Well, for supply chain, there are a couple of artifacts that are very interesting to tokenize because it enables the existence of different systems. Next slide. One such artifact is a purchase order. A purchase order might sound simple enough, but when you tokenize a purchase order, when you have proof of a purchase order, when you digitize that on the blockchain, you can write details on that purchase order like first, amount, how much a company is trying to procure, who wrote the purchase order the company is originating from, and the company you're actually purchasing from. When you have this tokenized, it's going to be tokenized as an NFT, a non-fungible asset. The supplier will receive this PO as a token and can now start to do interesting stuff with this PO. So Next slide. One such example is when you, as a supplier, have a PO. Let's say you have 1 million worth of orders, but you don't have the working capital to actually fulfill that order. Let's say you, a company, 𝐒𝐿Mico, is trying to buy grain from a farmer, 1 million worth. But that farmer needs 200,000 to hire labor, packaging, in order to deliver the actual products requested. But that farmer doesn't have the money available right now. It might be tied up, or they might be waiting for receivables from someone. So what that farmer can do, given that PO, is they can go to a bank. That bank can check that PO, that tokenized PO, and see, oh, this PO was issued by 𝐒𝐿Mico. I know 𝐒𝐿Mico. 𝐒𝐿Mico is a big name brand. I can see that it's a legitimate transaction worth 1 million. So now I know that you have something to fulfill. That bank can then ask, how much do you need? You need 200,000. Okay, I'm gonna give you 200,000, but I need you to assign 20% of the PO rights to me. So what you do to the PO is you fractionalize it. So 20% of the PO you can now assign to the bank. And what this does is it shows that 20% of the receivables can now be received by the bank. You're technically assigning the receivable rights for that PO. So this also solves another problem of double presentment, because an issue for some POs are when a supplier is dishonest, they can shop around with a purchase order and just promise or show the PO to different banks while having it while actually having promised it to multiple of them, right? But because on the blockchain, these banks can actually see that you've already promised this to Union Bank. Why are you selling this to me? Right? So once you've sold 20% of the PO to Union Bank can now give you the 20% of the PO amount, in this case, 200,000, and you can work on fulfilling that order. Next slide. So when it's time to actually fulfill the order and 𝐒𝐿Mico pays, they don't need to pay the farmer directly because it's on the blockchain. And let's say for this scenario, money is on the blockchain. They can pay the PO directly on the blockchain because the PO itself is a contract. The PO becomes a smart contract in which when you transfer money to that smart contract, the PO will facilitate the distribution, and it will see that 20% of the rights to the payment is already allocated to Union Bank, to your bank A. So it distributes 20% to Union Bank and the remainder goes to you as your profit. So it automates that process and allows a more trustless way of dealing with things. In this case, the bank doesn't need to trust the farmer to pay him back because he automatically has rights assigned to him through the PO. Next slide. But what happens in the case that they have payment terms? So instead of having the PO paid directly, you'll probably have to issue an invoice, right? Next slide. So what we can do, in the previous scenario, the PO 20% was already assigned to Union Bank, right? Next slide. But in this case, because there are payment terms and you need to issue an invoice, we can convert that PO to the invoice itself. So the life cycle goes from you issuing a PO, the company, and once it's fulfilled, it becomes the invoice. And once the farmer has that invoice, next slide, they can go sell that invoice. They can sell the remainder of that invoice. So in our previous example, 20% of the PO was sold to Union Bank. In this case, as the farmer, you're looking at, so 80% of 1 million, you still have 800,000 receivable, but you need that money now. Maybe payment terms are T plus 30, T plus 60, and you can't wait for it. You need something, you need the money to expand possibly your services or just to fulfill other orders, right? So what you can do is you can sell that invoice. You can sell 80% of that invoice to another bank. You can invoice discounting, right? Receivables. Another bank, let's say in this case, City Savings Bank, can go in. They can see that your invoice is payable in 30 days. They can see that you still have 80% of the rights for that invoice, and they can just say, okay, I'll buy your invoice. I'll buy your receivable. Here's 800,000, or at least something discounted like 790,000. Give me the full rights to the invoice, right? And when that happens, next slide. When the payment terms are due, when Pelmico pays, they pay directly to the invoice. And also in this case, it's still a smart contract. When that happens, the 20% from earlier automatically gets disbursed to the previous bank. So in this case, Union Bank, and the remaining 80% goes to CSB because they bought the remainder of your invoice. And it automates a lot of the pain points because now you don't need to collect from the farmer. You don't need to make sure that things aren't presented to other banks because you can check on the blockchain if things are real. And the blockchain can automate the actual processing because on the blockchain, we have this concept of smart contracts and smart money. So your money isn't just something you trade, but it's something you can automate. And in this case, the farmer really shouldn't care what happens to the funds or the invoices because he's already got his money because he sold part of the PO and he sold the remainder of the invoice. Next slide. Okay, so what are we doing in Union Bank? Next slide, please. So in Union Bank, we've built a system. Initially, we've called that the financial supply chain system. We've built it on Hyperledger Fabric in partnership with IBM previously. And we are trying to work on that scenario, on the ideal state of having tokenized assets, tokenized POs, tokenized invoices. So what we have is a system where we contact big clients, in the case, let's say, Philip Morris, San Miguel, possibly. And what they do is they onboard their suppliers and their dealers on the platform. So we have what we call an anchor client. And this anchor client can perform POs or issue invoices directly on that platform. Given that information, we can now offer financial products to their suppliers and their dealers, even though we don't have direct relations to them. Because given what we know through the blockchain and given what we can do on the blockchain, we're able to extend the trust we give to our anchor clients directly to their suppliers. So this is our way of trying to build the end state that we imagine. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mark Romero, Platform Lead for Blockchain of the Union Bank of the Philippines. Thank you so much. Friends, our last topic this morning is all about green procurement. Greening the supply chain. And joining us here to present, this is a Programs and Projects Director of the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development Incorporated. Let me introduce you to her. Ms. Lebria from the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development Incorporated is a licensed chemical engineer with a Master of Engineering in Environmental Engineering and Management from De La Salle University. She was also a lecturer from the same university in its Gokongwei College of Engineering. She is Also, she has also worked as a technical and research assistant for DLSU's Center for Engineering and Sustainable Development Research. She started working with Green Choice Philippines as a consultant in developing product criteria in 2008. She joined the PCEP-SDI as the project coordinator of the Philippine Green Pages before becoming the implementation of the organization's programs and projects with international organizations such as the UN Environment and GIZ, among others, as PCEP-SDI's program and project director. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Ms. Maureen Grace Lebria.
Okay. So, yeah, good morning. Welcome back. So that was a good tour and a very clear presentation from the blockchain. Thank you very much for clearing that out. I now understand that better, and thank you very much for the introduction. So, we're here to discuss green procurement. Let me take a hack at what you're thinking right now. Green procurement, it must be expensive. Yes, can we have a nod if you're thinking that? Expensive, it would take too much work. Okay, that's too technical. It's not pro SMEs. Yes? No? Okay. I'd like to see who are in the room. Who here are procuring entities? Oh, of course, understandably. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for having us here. Who here are from the suppliers or from the businesses? Okay, so thank you very much. I'm going to talk to you more okay, for this. So this is for you, actually. Who here are from the developmental sector, academia, other CSOs? Okay, so we need you here as well very much. So I'm Grace Lebria. Next slide, please. I'm from the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development. I'm sorry for the long name. You can call us PCEPSD, okay, and you can call me Grace. So PCEPSD, next slide, please. We are the administrator of the National Eco-Labeling Program, Green Choice Philippines. So this is a type 1 eco-labeling program based on life cycle. So we're not the only eco-labels globally, okay? We're just the only type 1 here, and there are actually several types, okay? To support this objective of having green products in the market, we are running this in behalf of the eco-labeling board members. And also we have several programs. Next slide, please. And next slide. We're running a program for procuring entities, be it the general consumer or businesses. It's the Green Purchasing Alliance movement. Okay. And next slide, please. And another one. Okay. So we have 2 platforms to encourage discussion among buyers and suppliers. So this is the Philippine Green Pages and the Kalikasan GP3 conference. So this is where businesses, government, academe can meet, discuss what can we do together. Okay. So next slide, please. Okay. So for the next hour, sorry, kidding, 15 minutes, I'm going to address these questions, basic questions. So next slide, please. So what needs to be done? Why do we have to do this? Next slide, please. So I think this has been discussed previously. Why do we need to do this? Climate change, drought, extreme weather patterns, ring a bell, marine litter, water pollution. Ever encounter those? Okay. So hopefully you have. We're also talking about people's welfare, okay, health, okay, that's part of it. Why not, push the manufacturing sector to do the work? Well, they've been working for this for decades already. So it's actually the pattern of our buying, of our consuming, of adding into the cart that is actually putting environmental pressure into the planet. Okay. Next slide, please. So what needs to be done? Next slide, please. The good thing about now is that we don't have to rethink what needs to be done.
what should be done. Okay, it is already laid out. There are 17 sustainable development goals, and the Philippines committed to meeting these. So we should be part of achieving this. And focusing into SDG 12, next slide, please. Okay, this is where we come in. We want to achieve sustainable consumption and production. Okay. Next slide, please. So again, we're not starting from scratch. The Philippines has already committed, several activities, several plans. So NEDA has actually issued the Philippine Action Plan for Sustainable Consumption and Production. So for PAP, for SCP. So this is already released. We just have to read it and do something about it. Okay. The Office of the President has already issued the Executive Order 301 way back in 2004. So we were actually the first ones to have a national policy. It's an executive order, I know, but we were the first ones to have this in policy. But implementation-wise, well, we're a little lagging behind, but we're not starting from ground zero, okay? And of course, GPPB has already released the GPP roadmap. So all plans are laid, the road is there, we just have to drive through it. Okay. Next slide, please. Who needs to be involved? So that's why I asked who are in the room. So since we're talking about green public procurement, of course, government has to be involved. But who from the government? Commitment has to be there. So the head of the unit, the president, down to all secretaries, directors, and all that. There has to be commitment. If there are no commitments and the push is just coming from, a staff, nothing would be done sustainably. Okay. We need procuring entities because you're in the forefront of this green public procurement, but not just you. Okay. You need the end user. You need the ones writing the technical specifications. The bids and awards committee has to be involved. Engineering, planning committee, even COA has to be involved. And the information dissemination department has to be involved, okay? Businesses, of course, has to be involved. Why? They're the ones supplying us the goods. They need to supply us the right goods, okay? The green goods. So be it the big manufacturers, the traders, SMEs, suppliers directly engaging with us. Civil society, NGOs, academe and technical, they can very much support us in implementing green public procurement, okay? Such as awareness raising, such as these forums, okay? These discussions. They can help us do the science-based research. The procuring entities does not have to do all the scientific work. We have the academe for it. They know what they're talking about. Okay, we just have to read about it and integrate this into our system. So we're not starting from scratch. These entities are our technical support. Okay, product testing and product certification bodies can provide us with the right documentation that can tell us if a product is really green or not, and not just greenwashing. Be careful. If you see, a leaf sign, an earth logo somewhere, don't just believe it immediately, okay? Some companies do greenwashing because that is a niche market, okay? So next slide, please. So this is not an exhaustive list, mind you, so we can expand this all we want, okay? Next, when do we need to do this? So our main reference for that is our plans, our targets. So in short, next slide, please. We can start now. We are starting now. You're hearing about this, hopefully just not now, but we can start yesterday. Okay, next slide, please. And now the big question is, how? How do we do this? Next slide, please. Okay, let's start from what you're actually doing right now. Okay, how do we purchase? Of course, we look at the price. We ask the suppliers, how much is that? But is that the only question that you're asking suppliers? Suppliers, let us verify. Do they ask you the quality of the product? Especially if you're talking about safety. Do you buy tiles that would, be damaged after 1 year of building use? Yung nalaglagan lang ng cup, nasira yung tile pero yung mug buo pa. Does that happen? Sorry, Kai, for the Tagalog anecdote. I'll tell you that later. Okay. So you need to ask for some quality specifications, especially, next slide, if we're considering safety. Okay. Have you, procuring entities, have you received complaints about ball pens not working after 1 day? Hopefully not anymore. Okay. Previously, we received those kinds of complaints, but not anymore. So that means that has been addressed. Okay. So why? You ask for quality product. Availability and delivery. Suppliers. Do government agencies ask you if you can supply that bulk of products in such a short time? Do you have to supply documents that you are big enough, that you have the assets to deliver? I believe so. Okay. So availability and delivery of goods. So these are basically what consumers are looking. The next slide, please. So in short, price is not the only variable in this equation. We're asking for all these, right? If not, operation would be compromised. Next slide, please. So starting from these basic requirements, next slide, please. Okay. When we buy equipment, do you ask manufacturers if they would provide personnel training? For how many? 1, 2? If you need to train, let's say 10, do you need to pay extra? Okay. How about maintenance? Is maintenance free for the next year? Or after 1 year, you need to pay someone from Germany, pay for their airfare, accommodation, just to maintain your equipment. And that is true, actually. There are some suppliers that would import in, technical experts from the suppliers and at their own cost. Okay. How about spare parts? Are spare parts still available, or consumables still available after 2 years of use? You may have experienced buying a printer. After 2 years, you cannot buy an original ink anymore. And you just have to buy Class A inks from, pirated ones. Disposal cost. Have you experienced not working equipment and you have a problem disposing of it because you have to pay the hauler, you have to pay the treater, okay, to dispose of it, and you just end up wasting precious Makati office space to store those equipment? Any of those sound familiar? Yes? No? Okay. So, yes. The next slide, please. So since we've been asking all those questions, have we asked manufacturers or providers, how much water does your equipment use? Okay, how much electricity does this laptop use? Let's say in an 8-hour workday. Okay. How about if we buy from a certain caterer, how much do we contribute to solid waste? Solid waste is a very critical issue for us. Okay. So we're asking caterers, please do not use straws, plastic straws. Please do not use paper cups. So that, in actuality, next slide, please, is already part of green procurement. Since we are considering the cost or the life cycle cost, people's welfare, okay, people's welfare that includes productivity and environmental considerations. Okay. So that is already green procurement. Next slide, please. So the first step is to have proper procurement or green procurement. Okay. So we want value for money, not just the cheapest product in the market. Next slide, please. Okay. So the International Green Purchasing Network established these 4 principles that we, as general consumers ready to add to cart by 11/11 can live by. Okay. Principle 1, consider necessity. Do you need it? Do you love it? Do you like it? Or you just want it? Okay. So for green public procurement, we just have to buy the things that we need. Okay. Number two, consider the life cycle. Since we're spending, government money, people's money for buying goods, we are also spending their money to pay for our electricity, to pay for the disposal of these waste. Okay, so consider the life cycle cost. Number three, consider suppliers' efforts. Your suppliers have done so much to be able to deliver you the right goods. Okay, they established their capital, they source out good products. Why don't we give credit to those suppliers? Let's say if they have an ISO or QMS systems in place, and environmental management systems in place. Okay? Can we give them credit for that? And number four, acquire environmental information. So this is just where environmental, variable comes in the fourth principle. So just considering the environmental impact of the product, looking at its life's journeys, from when it was produced, where the materials they use, until disposal. Next slide, please. So next, how do they do it? So these countries, and these are just some, are already implementing green public procurement. Okay, and this is just countries in Asia. So I'm not talking about the ones in Europe. So how do they do it? Thankfully for us, there are free publications available. There are numerous studies done comparing all these programs, but I don't have the time to discuss everything here, actually. But next slide, please. Okay, but here's some of the best practices. So next slide. So one policy, of course, this is a necessity. Okay, we need to have the policy. So we have the plans, we have an EO. We can start, from where we are. So right now, Congress is already discussing. They have a hearing on an RA for green public procurement already. So that is ongoing. So we are on the right track for a Republic Act for green public procurement. Number two, eco-labels and certifications. But Miss Grace, eco-label certification, ISO, Green Choice Philippines, it's expensive. Okay. Well, Green Choice Philippines actually a cheap certification program because we believe that, the product development and the testing is more costly, but not going to talk extensively about that. But for eco-labels, actually, Green Choice Philippines is not the only label in the market. Ever heard of Energy Star? Wala. Yes, okay. Energy Star, the DOE's Energy Tag, FSC, Forest, the Stewardship Council, okay, Rainforest Alliance, those are eco-labels. So if you are putting these requirements into your technical specifications, you are already considering eco-labels in the procurement. Okay, so there are several kinds or little nuances in the difference of eco-labels. Some consider just one impact, like Energy Star, while some are considering the whole life cycle, like Green Choice Philippines or Japan's EcoMark, EU Flower, or the Type 1 eco-label. So there are many different kinds of eco-label. We can talk more about that later on. Next slide, please. Okay, green products list. Other countries have developed or adopted a listing of green products, some sort of directory of green products. So this makes it easier to browse through, green products available. So the government does not have to build it. They can just contract it or look for, available ones in the market. So next slide, please. So to one-up this green listing, actually Thailand has already included the green list or green products into their e-shopping. Okay, they call it the green cart. So imagine the PhilJeps or the shopping cart has already green products or tags already indicated. So this means that green public procurement has to be into the system of our operations. This is not a one-time project. Okay, this is not GIZ's project or our project. This is not just one training. Okay, this has to be in the system. Next slide, please. Just 4 more. Next slide, please. Okay, so guidelines. So right now, GPPB is already working in the guideline. How to have green products available for you. Okay? Technical specifications, the procedures and all that. So we are working, you are already working about it right now. Okay. Next slide, please. So monitoring and evaluations. Again, we're not starting from scratch. You've heard, Kai, that you're already developing this monitoring and evaluation process. So what gets measured gets managed. So if you see, the amount of savings and the amount of environmental savings that you earn due to green public procurement, it would, you would feel good about this program already. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. Capacity building and training. So definitely this is a necessity in all stages of green public procurement. Okay. Whether you're starting from scratch or you are in an advanced state. Okay. Because this is not a static program. This evolves. This has been evolving for the past 15 years. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. And finally, communication and awareness. So government employees, the staff from top to bottom has to know about this program, but not just you. Suppliers has to know, or they have to know what you're planning to do. Okay. They have to provide you timely with the product. So you need to give them time to comply, and even the general public has to know about this. Okay, so this would bring in more credibility in the program and could validate what we are doing. And of challenges, of course, we will face tons of challenges, but again, we're not starting from scratch. Other countries have already done it. They have faced these challenges. So in short, if they can do it, we can do it, or it cannot be done at all. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Maureen Grace Labria, Programs and Projects Director of the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development Incorporated. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our topic presentations for this morning. But before we proceed to the rest of the program, why don't we take a short breather? And what I mean about that is, why don't we make this summit a bit more exciting? A bit more exciting by having a game. And before we proceed to our panel discussion, let's have a simple trivia game. Okay. I hope everybody was attentive during all the speeches and presentations earlier, because I believe our first trivia question will be based from all the sharings this morning. So you shall be tested. And I encourage everyone who are here at the PICC and those attending via Zoom to please join our trivia games, because exciting prizes will be given away to our lucky winners. And we will have a lot of these trivia games starting today until tomorrow. So do watch out for that. If you wish to take home exciting prizes, exciting merchandises sponsored by our summit exhibitors and the GPPB TSO. But there's a catch to this, guys. You can only win once, because we want to spread the blessings to all of us here this morning. And we will be giving each participant present here and those in Zoom one chance each to win prizes. So, are you ready to play our trivia game, ladies and gentlemen? You are. Are you ready? Okay, that sounds good. All right. I got a few instructions for this game. It doesn't seem that simple, so listen up. On your respective tables, there is a QR code that you can scan. And that should lead you to the Slido app or the Slido website. You can see it on your tables. Yes, you can scan it right now. Then once you are in the Slido app, well, if you're having a hard time scanning the code, you can also go straight to the website or the app by typing www.slido.com.ph in your browsers. So I do hope you are in the Slido app right now. Then, once you are in Slido, type in our event code. Our event code is FY 2022 Procurement Summit. Again, our event code is hashtag FY 2022 Procurement Summit. Yes, we can just copy it right there. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you are already in the Slido platform. I see a thumbs up over there. What about the others? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Almost all of you are in. Because in 10 seconds, the first trivia question will be posted. And make sure to provide your name and affiliation. And most importantly, make sure that you are registered on site and in the online training management system of the GPPB-TSO, because later on, we are going to be verifying your details through your registration. So don't forget to register. Okay, I'm sure everybody's ready. So let us give them our first trivia question, and the first one to give the correct answer will be taking home a prize. Our first trivia question will be shown on screen. I can see the question right there. The question is, in what year was the first procurement summit conducted, and where was it conducted? I believe that was part of my introduction a while ago. If you were listening, answer it right now, and the first one to get the correct answer will win a prize. Are the answers in? I like that music. Okay, I am assuming that your answers are in. Now we shall give some time to the Secretariat to verify the entries in the Slido app. And while they are doing that, may we call on our panel speakers once again to proceed here on stage for our panel discussion. May we also request our GPPB-TSO Executive Director, Attorney Rowena Candice M. Ruiz, to join our panel here on stage. Is Ma'am Edie present? May we call on our panelists to please join us here on stage to occupy our beautiful couches right here. The question wasn't that hard. It was just a few years ago. 2000, You guess it yourselves. Okay. Okay, we now have our panel speakers. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about our concerns and express your thoughts and share your inputs. Questions from our on-site and online participants will now be entertained. For our PICC participants, please make sure you use our microphones and state your name and affiliation before asking your questions. And for our Zoom participants, you may type your questions in the chat box and we will queue them for questioning with the help of the event secretariat. And to serve as our moderator for this segment, I now give the floor to the Assistant Secretary for Finance of the Department of Education and a GPPB recognized trainer, Assistant Secretary Omar Alexander Romero.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing this cold morning? They weren't kidding. Earlier I said, oh no, I'm wearing a barong, so I'll have to endure the chilly atmosphere here at PICC. So it is my pleasure to moderate this esteemed panel this morning. So much talent, so much brilliance behind me here. I'd like to greet 𝐒𝐿𝐸𝐺𝐻𝐸. Good morning, 𝐒𝐿. Unfortunately, Sec Mina already had to go for another engagement. But of course, I'd like to greet our fellow civil servants in the room, as well as those who are joining us virtually. And of course, our partners from international organizations and the private sector, both in the room and joining us online. It is a true pleasure to be moderating this panel for the 4th Annual Procurement Summit. I remember I attended the first one and every year that followed. And it's good that we are now resuming this very important activity. Earlier on, we heard from Kai Hoffman. Good morning, Kai. For some of us, this might be the first time we've heard of circular procurement. But with Kai's presentation, we were given a walkthrough. And if you want to know more about it, this is the venue to ask questions. We will be opening the floor in a few moments. We also heard about blockchain technology and how it benefits the supply chain from Marco Romero of Union Bank. Good morning, Marco. I don't think we're related, but we both hail from the UP School of Economics, Marco. Lastly, we heard from Maureen Labria. Good morning. She shared the impact of greening supply chain, how it addresses sustainable development goals. So thank you, Kai, Marco, and Maureen for joining us. And of course, our Executive Director of the TSO, 𝐒𝐿𝐸𝐺𝐻𝐸. We will be entertaining questions from participants who are here in the room, and the participants via Zoom and YouTube and Facebook may also send their questions. Again, we'd like to remind our participants to use the microphones there in the aisle. And we'd appreciate hearing your name and your affiliation before asking the questions. So are we ready to our panel? Okay, so do we have any questions from the room? We'd like to take advantage, of the expertise in our panel. Anyone? Can we encourage everyone to address our speakers? Okay, so while we're waiting for live questions in the room, I am receiving some questions sent virtually. So maybe we could address it to 𝐒𝐿𝐸𝐺𝐻𝐸. How can the GPPB TSO help in providing market recognition for innovative products? 𝐒𝐿𝐸𝐺𝐻𝐸.
Thank you, Asek Omar, for the question. And again, good morning, everyone. I do invite you to ask questions. We have a very good set of panelists here. I'm sure you're just a little bit shy, but let's start the ball rolling with the question already presented. Yes, I think first and foremost, we have this procurement summit. As Asek Omar mentioned, this was established as early as 2017 during the time of the NED Santiago. And I think this is really an opportunity for us to be able to highlight these innovative products, including technologies that are already there, but we might not know of. That's one. The other thing really is into looking into policies. That's the role of the GPPB and its Technical Support Office. So one of the things we are looking into, good that this question was asked, is that we're looking into design and build as a modality to introduce innovative technology, particularly in construction. So we're working with the Australian government to come up with a more defined design and build rule. Personally, I think design and build is something where we can actually introduce our own PPP project in as much as we can actually rely on the private sector to provide us the mechanism. Say if the Department of Public Works needed immediately a quarantine facility, We can tap into design and build and just identify parameters such as we need this in 3 months' time. As long as it has the standards, you give me the design, and then you implement it within these parameters. This would be something that we can readily use, particularly in those instances. So this is something that we have been exploring with in using design and build to allow for more innovative technologies to come in. Because I'm sure you've heard about 3D printing. What if we can actually have suppliers do 3D printed houses for us, or small buildings or infrastructure projects for us? If this is something that is within our standards, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be allowing this in our government procurement. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Edie Weng. Very exhaustive answer. Do we have any parties in the hall would like to ask questions? Okay, there is a gentleman over there. Raised his hand. Can we request you? Of course, I know him, no, but can we request you to use the microphone?
Thank you. Since the moderator demands, and so I oblige. My question goes for Mr. Romero.
First, sir, you are?
I'm Chris Arnupo, formerly from the Department of Trade and now with the Department of Education.
Thank you.
So my question goes for Mr. Romero on blockchain. The question is not related to procurement. However, perhaps you could be given a little time to explain the difference between blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency, because I'm sure much of those in the room might interchange Bitcoin, cryptocurrency with the rest. And second question is that how safe and how secure is a blockchain? As far as I know, it is as secure as its weakest link, since it is a modality of different nodes or different ledgers. Given that systems could be hacked and definitely data could be channeled in any way or any form, how secure is the Philippine system with regards to blockchain? Thank you.
Good question, actually, because normally when I start my presentation, I start by differentiating what blockchain is and what Bitcoin is and what cryptocurrency is. Because normally when you talk about blockchain, people automatically think of Bitcoin. It's one of the first things that really they associate with blockchain. But blockchain is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not blockchain. Bitcoin is on the blockchain. It's on the Bitcoin blockchain. So Bitcoin is a currency that is enabled by blockchain. Blockchain is the technology that enables Bitcoin. And all the other currencies are basically either built on a blockchain as a protocol or enabled through what we call smart contracts, your tokens, right? So it's basically the difference. So when you try to differentiate Bitcoin and blockchain, just think blockchain is the technology, Bitcoin is the currency enabled by that technology. Okay, on to the second question. The second question,
how secure? How secure is the system?
So for the security of blockchain, it's true. It is decided by its weakest link. So the protocol itself is secure. There has not been a hacking incident that's direct to the protocol. But the thing about blockchain is you can build stuff on the blockchain. In the case of Ethereum, you have what we call smart contracts. And these smart contracts can have bugs. But it's separate from the protocol itself. The protocol hasn't been hacked, but there has been some hacking stores for smart contracts because of coding errors. And the thing there, it's very difficult to reverse because what's on the blockchain stays on the blockchain, right? Aside from smart contracts, you also hear of hackings of exchanges because exchanges live or at least utilize the blockchain. They have their own accounts, their own processes. And when these services, they get hacked, you get exposure. But the thing is, as long as we're talking about just the blockchain protocol, it hasn't been hacked. But you need to be careful when interacting with the applications or services that live on the blockchain. I think there's still a lot of room for growth and when it comes to insurance and security for these protocols. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Thank you for the question. Anyone from the room? Yes, can we call on Undersecretary Vismonte of the DTI?
Good morning, everyone. Tanggalin ko muna to, ha. Hindi magagalit sa atin si 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐷𝐼𝐻. 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐷𝐼𝐻 is from 𝐷OH. My question, this morning's topics are very, not only innovative and sustainable, they are challenging and difficult. And my question is related to green procurement. Maybe some of you are aware that DTI, together with GPPB, started the green procurement a decade ago, maybe more than a decade ago. So my question now is, what would be the difference between now and, or what are the challenges now as compared to decades ago? Because definitely that time, we have all the difficulties around us. We cannot set mandatory standards for products related to green products because of availability. We don't have much choices, supply volume related to green products. I think awareness is not that much at that time. So we had difficulty really implementing this, so much traction. So my question is, what are the challenges now that we're facing, and what are the chances that it will be easier for us now to implement this?
Thank you, Yusek. Shall we? Oh, okay. We'd like to give it first to 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐷𝐼𝐻.
I'll answer it first, but I'll give the floor to the others because I'm sure they have different takes on this. We've heard early on, we don't have any issued policy, right? It's already there. It's been there. As you've pointed out, sir, you've worked with GPPB a decade ago in terms of green public procurement. I think the difference now, the pain point is clearly there. This is something that is really hard to push. That's why government should really lead. But I think what I see different now is that we have somehow mainstream green products. Even in so far as infrastructure. We have the Green Building Council in the Philippines. We also have the Green Building Code from the Public Works Ministry. So it's very different, I suppose, in terms of the landscape. That's number one. Number two, the technology. I think the technologies that we've been seeing over the years has really been helping push it. Because together, they can really be quite transformative, especially in government. And I think at the end of the day, it's really just a matter of us realizing at the core of it, what can actually work. Perhaps also we need to take it in bite sizes. Oftentimes in government, we like really the 5-year, 6-year plan. I think it's about time for us to really look at it from the point of view, what can we actually do now and tomorrow? And I think that's what we are doing at the GPPB-TSO. We have been pushing, but also at the same time realizing that small wins do help. And we want to invest on these small wins. And I think that is somehow what is different right now and what we can actually leverage. So I'll give the floor to the other panelists. Want to go first? Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So it has actually been 10 years. That capacity building started way back in 2013 with trainings and discussions. So 10 years, yeah. Although from that time, we have come a long way. So like 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐷𝐼𝐻 has said, we have addressed major challenges like policy, awareness, capacity of personnel. We've done a lot. So some of the pain points at this point, one, let me address, the elephant in the room, the supply of green products or market, competitiveness. So that's one of the major issues. It's not exactly true that green products are manufactured by big companies. So if you've seen the exhibit outside, most of the green products there are marketed by SMEs. Some are even startups. So if we can give, those startup companies leverage to enter green procurement, that's really a big help for micro enterprises. Okay. Second pain point is verification of green products. Due to the flood of green products or products claiming to be green, so we have a greenwashing problem now. Okay, so it has been a burden, if I may say so, for the procuring entities to verify green products. So what they should be looking for? Should they ask for all the test results? You know, should they be the ones submitting to DOST to have all these products tested? Can they understand all the chemical terms listed in the technical specifications and ingredients list? Okay, so that's really a big burden for procuring entities. So if we can address that, other countries have already addressed that by recognizing third-party statements, verifications, labels. So if we can streamline this, I'm not just pushing, let's say, Green Choice Philippines by Green Choice only, Green Choice Philippines certified products only. I'm not saying that. So if we can recognize all these, what we call consumer information, third-party verified, okay, this would really help the procuring entities identify green products. And streamlining this into the system in the work process would really help the process as well. So capacity building policy, we're all working about that. Yeah.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you.
The chicken and egg problem. That's what I call it, like we want to procure green, but there's no supply. And when there's no procurement, when there's no demand, then there's no supply. I can just, and I very much, I find this also a major pain point. And I just give you the example of Germany. Germany, it took 30 years for the green eco label that we have in Germany, which is the oldest one in the world, Blue Angel, to be recognized by the government as the main procurement system. And of course, during this time, the label faced the same problems as we have here in the Philippines. This is not something so new to the world. But I give you a quite astonishing, movement in Germany, and that has probably started since 20 years, I would say. I come into supermarkets and I go even into discounters where, not so wealthy off people go. And you have a whole store of green products and they're all certified. And you're like, wow, there is a massive change in the consumer behavior, a massive change in the awareness of the people that green products are not only good for me, but also for the environment, for all of us. So this is something where I think it takes time. And then the other aspect is that I would like to also highlight what I said about the European Union Circular Economy Package. Because we have to understand that making circular economy market happen is not a single policy. It's not eco-labels and green public procurement and then it's done. No, it's a multitude of policies that have to come together that procurement only plays one role in. And so I would suggest take it stepwise and go with more ambitious requirements over the years. We started 10 years ago, you said, right? Like we started with like relatively low ambitious criteria, and now we can push them because the market is there. And then we push it again, and we push it again. One last example I would like to give from Japan, because I love this example so much. There, the car industry has driven towards efficiency by the industry-driven mechanism. And the industry-driven mechanism is very simple. They said every 3 years, we take the best performing manufacturer and we make it the new standard, minimum standard. And then you have 3 years to get there as a company, right? So, and then again, the front runner is again further up, and again, the top runner was basically leading the road. And that's a very nice mechanism to increase standards and to increase performance. I think these are some of the answers. There are many answers to that questions. That's also why green public procurement should not be only in the GPB TSO. That is, DTI has to play its active role with SME promotion. And I know that you have now started with green catalogs and the green product exhibition with the SMEs. this is the right way to do it, to promote them, and to also see how can we incentivize them. Can we, like in the European Union, we are now starting about tax incentives and fiscal incentives, how to reduce VAT for green products, how to increase their access to finance, and so on and so on. So I very much suggest to also look on different mechanisms, but green public procurement.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Kai. So there's a suggestion there for the DTI. Maybe something we can do for our automotive industry. So our next question will come from a gentleman over there in the back. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. I am Bienvenido Nalios from the province of Antique. First of all, I'd like to share with this group regarding green procurement. Way back in 2018, we had this seminar in Cebu. And from then on, we have integrated already the specifications of green procurement in the province of Antique. However, we found it hard because of limited suppliers. In fact, even our caterers in the local, in Antique, have a hard time to adjust dahil we immediately implemented and pushed it. But when we realized that the market is not ready for our green procurement, so actually we have been not so strict with that, although we still include it in our bidding documents as part of the requirements. And right now, our suppliers, particularly sa mga catering services natin, are really good now and compliant with the green public procurement. That's why the question a while ago is indeed very good, no? And may I suggest to the GPPB to have a separate capacity building activity to capacitate the procuring entity, particularly on the evaluation and post-qualification of green procurement specifications. We admit that we don't have the technical capacity to evaluate and post-qualify suppliers if they are compliant with the specifications on green public procurement. And I'd like also to take this opportunity to also suggest, because we are procuring in the DBMPS, to also be compliant with the green procurement. We have been procuring with the DBMPS before, and I think as to our observation, even the DBMPS are not compliant. Yes. And lastly, I hope that kasi ang ganda sana ng DBMPS na mga procurement na kung tayo ay magpo-procure doon sa DBMPS. So I suggest that maging available sana yung mga common use supplies and equipment which are compliant with the green procurement. Unahan natin sa gobyerno. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sure ED Dennis took note. I think ED Weng would like to respond.
Yes, thank you, ASEC-OMER. Our panelists are very happy, sir, for your manifestation earlier that as early as 2018, you've actually done your part in including green specs. And we hear you. And in fact, as we were having the plenary session, Kai and I have been discussing about steps forward. Even prior to that, later on, there will be a board meeting, and one of the things in the agenda is our recommendations to actually push for forward the green public procurement initiatives in the Philippines. We have actually reviewed our GPP roadmap, and one of the things that we have identified as a pain point really precisely is how you'll be able to do the specifications. With the help of the GIZ, we actually have draft SOPs. These are standard operating procedures that are meant to help you procuring entities to be able to identify, how do I actually identify green? How do I actually post-qualify? It's not just a matter of being strict or not being strict. It's really a matter of being sincere in our efforts to green the economy. It's not just a matter of greenwashing, as pointed out earlier by the other panelists. So certainly we're hearing you out, and we're working hard to be able to finalize all of these SOPs. Hopefully by next year we will have that. Insofar as the CSEs are concerned, I think we're also, I think ED Dennis is also very much supportive of this in terms of not only expanding. I'm sure as they are reviewing, he did mention earlier that they are reviewing the technical specification, and this is something that they would certainly include, in the review process for the common use supplies and equipment.
Thank you, Edie. For our next question, we got this from our Zoom participant, and this relates also to green procurement testing. How long will it take for the testing centers to validate that the product or supplies are compliant with green procurement? And how much will it cost for the requesting agency? Maybe Maureen will take this question.
Pointing to me for that question. Okay. For product testing, you need to understand that there's multitudes of types of tests. Those tests conducted here that can be conducted by DOST facilities may be a lot cheaper. But if you don't have the capacity to test it here, we have no choice or to source it out to multinational companies, and they'd have to source it out to the region like Singapore or Thailand. Picking up from the Antique experience, so thank you very much for that. So in terms of determining green products, market study is also very crucial in determining what products to be prioritized, what should we require for these products, okay? So in terms of product testing, that has to be included when looking at the market. So can they source testing here in the Philippines? How much is it? So yeah, so that's the question that a market readiness study has to address. And also take note that the government is also upping their game in terms of testing. The OST for sure has a program to put up biodegradability testing for plastics, for example. So some of these tests are in the pipeline, just need the budget for it, but they wanted to up their game in the testing. So yeah, so hopefully we can have that. For certification, that would ease, identifying green products, because for Green Choice, for example, we also accept testing provided to you by your supplier abroad. So if the product is imported, your suppliers have these tests, we can verify its credibility and accept that as a legitimate document. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Maureen. While I'm waiting for a physical hand to go up, I'll read this question sent virtually. This is addressed to Marco. Yes, Marco. Blockchain technology requires investments in hardware systems. Which government agency or function is ripe for involving blockchain technology?
Okay. So yes, it does require investments, especially in talent actually. For hardware, the good thing about blockchain is even though you don't have your own node, you can actually connect to an existing node. There are a lot of services that does that for you, thereby lowering your costs. But the tough thing right now is finding the talent, because even worldwide, the current pool is small. This is both for the business people or the developers that actually know about blockchain. But the good thing is there's a lot of opportunity. I can say that for government, a good place to start would be in finance. I mean, it's an obvious place to be at because a lot of things are actually built on finance. My examples earlier of receivables discounting, PO financing, they rely on the existence of a current blockchain-based financial system. So having that kind of financial system already available is a way of infrastructure building on the blockchain. So aside from finance, there's actually another thing that we need, which is identity. Because on the blockchain right now, it's pseudo-anonymous. You see the address, but you don't necessarily see who you're actually dealing with unless you know who owns that address. So solving the problem of identity on the blockchain, especially for use cases such as procurement, is important because we need to know who we're dealing with and if they're trustworthy. So those are the two opportunities that are ripe right now. So finance and identity.
Thank you, Marco. Someone was raising his hand earlier. Oh, again, we'd like to call on again 𝐒𝐿𝐴 Bismonte.
Morning again. I think this morning we are actually doing some future proofing for the not only for procurement but the whole services delivery of government. And my question is about on the tail end of procurement, the suppliers are supposed to receive their payment, right? Tama po ba? So I receive complaints, particularly from MSMEs, that it takes time for them to receive their payment. And to some extent, meron pa ako nadinig that some suppliers, they're complaining that how come Filipino suppliers cannot avail of or cannot access letters of credit as opposed to foreign suppliers. But my question is for our guest from Union Bank. I want to know whether, and also to ED Weng. Alam niyo naman si ED Weng was also, came from DBM as well. The potential of the topic discussed by our friend Mr. Romero to government payment system.
That's actually very good because for suppliers, especially small scale suppliers, it's difficult for them to acquire letters of credit. If you're, for example, if you're in agriculture, if you're a farmer, it's difficult because for the financial world, you're a ghost. You might mostly deal in cash, so you won't even have bank accounts. And because of that, it's difficult for them to trust you, to actually lend you money because you're high risk. The good thing about what I was discussing is when you tokenize invoice or a PO is you have a source of truth that can tie back to an entity you can trust. In this case, your anchor client. This entity could be someone big like Del Monte, San Miguel. And when you see that name attached to an invoice and you can prove that invoice was issued by San Miguel, you can know that they have dealings with these small MSMEs, SMEs, farmers. And by proxy, because you trust your anchor, you can trust their participants, their suppliers, their dealers, and you can extend the trust that you give to that anchor client out to their suppliers and offer them credit because you know that they have dealings. You know that they have an invoice pending right now. And you can start offering that product to them. I think that's really a good opportunity we have with blockchain because even though they are currently financial ghosts, we know that they are getting money from somewhere. They are dealing with big anchor companies that you can trust. And when you see those transactions coming in, you can start to see a picture that, apparently these SMEs are actually trustworthy. I can give them loans, I can give them money because they have cash flow, they have sale,
right? So I think that's really an opportunity that blockchain can provide, or in this case, even just technology and the visibility towards these transactions can provide.
Okay, thank you. 𝐒𝐿 would like to add.
Yeah, I want to answer regarding payment. Indeed, that's true, Yusek Boy. In fact, in one of our pilot project, the procurement dashboard, surprisingly, one of the longest period by which a supplier was paid was 731 days. So you can imagine how dragging that can be, and very, uninspired for some of our suppliers. And that is why, and the reason why we actually did that pilot study is precisely to identify pain points. And payment is a very, very huge pain point in so far as government procurement is concerned. But the good thing, though, is that I hope you've heard of EO 170. That's already the issuance of the former president to really push government to digital transformation, including payment. Insofar as the GPPB is concerned, you'd be happy to know that we're already working on an alternative modality to cover collect, aggregate, remit, transfer, distribute, liquidate processes. Ano ba yun? You might be asking what that is. Essentially, if you have a project and you wanted to be able to engage with GCash, Maya, Union Bank, BDO, BPI, MasterCard, Visa, we are looking into this modality for you to be able to do it without public bidding. So that's number one. Number two, we're also pushing the Public Financial Management Committee of the government to really institutionalize digital payment. Because if you ask me, one of the challenges really is the auditors in government. But if you have a digital payment platform, it's a lot easier because you look into one system. So if the system say you can go pay, then that would be the evidence that you show your COA, I paid because the system paid. And all the system would do is to instruct your authorized government depository bank to pay the supplier. So we're really moving towards this eventually, but we have to do it with the Commission on Audit. And that is something that just yesterday I was talking with Secretary Mina, and we were looking into having a breakfast meeting with the COA chair, the new COA chair, so that we can also lay down to him what are the things that we can work together so that we can push not only digital transformation, but also to improve on how we procure in government.
Okay. Thank you, 𝐒𝐿. I apologize. I may have missed a hand raised on this side. I think from table 18, do we have a question? Go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Sige po, kayo po, sir. The one raising your hand. Yep. And let's, make it a bit short. We're running out of time, and there are still a few questions lined up.
Morning.
Morning.
I am Elmer Herrera from RITM. My question is actually a few observations as well. So for Ms. Maureen, I think, do you think Filipinos have already ingrained that green system in us? Because I think the reason why we're having difficulty, because as a people, we're not yet into that. It seems like we are reflecting what kind of character or what kind of values that we have. If we go into government, say, it's really about the price, the lowest. And another thing, I think we do not, I mean, personally, I do not see the sense of urgency right now because we know the impact of global warming and climate change and so on, but it seems like we are still not. I mean, our attitude is just, and then another thing is, if we have to rally the whole government, I really appreciate what 𝐒𝐿 said about COA, because COA has a value for money audit. I mean, if we will push for this, that COA will also include their value for money audit as part, as green procurement, as part of value for money, then government procuring entities will be pushed. Because I think if we will just leave it to chance, it will take us several decades more to really, because again, the attitude of most public practitioners would be, if I include all this in my specifications, definitely my ABC will go up. because it will translate to more cost to the suppliers. But if we will create that demand, that of course we encourage, because another thing also at the ground level, a lot of us, especially with the current, alleged anomalous transactions and so on, overpricing is an issue. Coming up with an ABC in factoring in all those green specifications would definitely somehow make your ABC go up. And if you compare it with other agencies, some COA may think, why is your product more expensive than another agency? So something like that. Is COA really involved? Are they into this? That's my another concern. And how can we also engage? Because well, personally, it is a personal advocacy. Just looking at the volume of paper that we have, the volume of paper that we procure through PSDBM, and the volume of paper that we are using and we're wasting. I think government is not just the biggest spender, but the biggest waster as well. So yeah, I think if we can also engage COA to include green procurement in their value for audit, government agencies will really be pushed to put this in their specifications, and hopefully this can be dealt with more urgency, so that we will have a better world in the coming years.
Sir, thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone would like to give a brief response?
Okay, I'll try. Thank you so much for that, sir. I think Filipinos innately or culturally, I beg to differ. We have been living a sustainable life since I was born. You've experienced, an ice cream tub, chocolate ice cream, but it's not ice cream anymore. It's fish. Okay, that's already part of circularity. Reuse, reduce, reuse, recycle. So it's within us. We're used to repairing our equipment, electric fans, TVs. We have small repair shops. So it's already part of our culture. Maybe it's not part of the corporate culture. So maybe that's a problem. We have maybe a very westernized corporate culture. So if we can Philippinize our corporate processes, office culture, we can meet that. Generation today are the ones, the new generations, Gen Zs, millennials, are the ones looking for green products. So maybe you adults, maybe us adults, can learn from the kids. There is a surge of green products in social media. Why are they in social media? Because the kids are there. Okay, you go to Instagram, TikTok. Okay, so you see green products there, but you don't see them in, let's say, where do adults buy goods? In hardware, in malls. Yellow pages. Okay, so you don't see them in yellow or white pages. You see them in Instagram. Okay, so I think we're on the right track for there. For urgency, I think 𝐒𝐿 has already pictured urgency.
Yes, let me quickly echo that. You're Filipino if you're using butter cookie tin can as your sewing kit, right? So that's an example of circularity. I think that was featured in a Disney movie recently. But you're very correct, sir. We have been engaging with the Commission on Audit. And in fact, in 2019, we included them in our life cycle cost analysis workshop. The idea there is for them to understand, you just don't look at the first cost. So you don't compare one ABC to the other because you have to look at the component. You have to look at the cost from a life cycle perspective. And so, yes, we are doing that. But you have to understand also that it does take time. There's a level of certain urgency in our case, but we have to move agencies for us to be able to move the government forward. But we're certainly hearing you out. Thank you for that, sir.
Okay. Thank you, 𝐒𝐿. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time. We just have here a suggestion for the PSDBM suggestion. Could it be possible that all products in the PS depot be certified as green products? Please exert efforts to make them all green. Oh, the AD would like to respond. He's breaking his silence. Go.
Good morning, everyone. 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐸𝐽, Kai, and Maureen, and Mr. Romero, and everyone here in the room. Maraming salamat ho sa inyong pagdalo at malaking bagay po sa GPPB, TSO ito at sa GPPB at lalo na ho sa amin, PSDBM. I'm wearing now a new hat. I'm now in the operations side of public procurement. Before policy, now operations. No, so earlier on, it was mentioned by 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐸𝐽. We are currently reviewing all our 155 common use supplies and equipment. Okay, I myself is a champion of green procurement. I first learned about this sometime back. No? So this is what we're doing. Babaguhin ho namin yung specifications, of course, with the help of DTI, DOST, DNR, DOE, and all other agencies of government with technical know-how. We will also approach the market because we want to hear your side of what should be in. A while ago, si Sir Brian ba yun nagtanong, parang hindi pa sila ready or hindi pa ready yung market. That's the reason why you're in your green public procurement roadmap, you have a stepwise approach. Diba? Tingnan niyo yung common use supplies na 10 produkto, isa o dalawang aspects lamang po ng green procurement ang nandoon. And then, of course, the trust is to grow this as we move forward, as the market advances, as government advances as well in its progress towards green procurement, and of course, ultimately, to sustainable public procurement. So that's the goal really. Hindi lang po green, but also sustainable. We will touch the economic and of course, the economic and then the social aspects of public contracting. So darating ho tayo doon, hindi lang ho yung depots ang magiging green, but then pati ho yung aming warehouse dyan sa Paco. So gagawin ho natin green yung products in support, of course, to the trust of the GPPB and of course the project spearheaded by 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐸𝐽. No? Kailangan ho natin, and you are right, this should be led by government. Ganun naman ho ang ginawa noon. Led by government, but supported by the private sector. We cannot do this alone. So we need you here, and then we will keep in touch. We will touch base with you sooner or soon. All right? Maraming salamat po at magandang umaga.
Okay, thank you, ED Dennis. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for our discussion. Before we wrap this up, can we request our panelists to have a picture taking, after which we will request all our guests and procurement family members, the one with the lace here, to join us after the panel for a picture with everyone. Can we request the who will take the there?
Yes, may we call on, we got our official photographer right in front of us. And while they're taking their photo opportunity, well, this caps off a very productive and eventful morning session of our summit's first day. We have learned about the objectives of this procurement summit for fiscal year 2022. We were enlightened on the theme and set in tune by the Honorable Pangandaman and Attorney Ruiz, respectively. Interesting topics were presented to us and discussed with us by our guest speakers, and all these gave us a glimpse of the future of procurement, and we have seen the path that would lead us there. Once again, thank you very much to all our panelists. Okay, can we have some more photos with the members?
Members of the GPPB, the representatives, please kindly join us on the stage.
Yes, please do join us here on stage. Some more photos. These are memories for keeps. Since we missed the Procurement Summit for 2 years, but we are back. Okay, let's line up properly. Okay, let's move this microphone to the side so everybody can fit. Okay, everybody's ready now. One, two, three, smile. And we are done. Thank you very much to all our panelists, to all our members of the GPP-BTSO, and thank you to ASEC Romero, and to all of you who participated in that fruitful discussion. You all deserve a big round of applause. Okay, earlier we had a glimpse of our market opportunities exhibit after our ribbon cutting a while ago. The showcase of various innovative and sustainable products and services is made possible by our participating suppliers and sponsors, and they are Abacada Studios Incorporated, ACW Distribution Philippines, AGD Infotech, CleanVent, Cube System Builders Corporation, Dion Group Incorporated, formerly Bizoku, The Sustainable Planet Incorporated, Bambuhay, EcoNest Philippines, the Sachi Group, ENJ Corp Asia, Hop In Hotel under Era One Philippines, Gilburn Corporation, Gen 1 Distributor Incorporated, Lakbawayan Enterprise, Land Bank of the Philippines, Macrovista Incorporated, Metamedia Information Systems Corp, Philjeps, and Procurement Service DBM, Filusa Corporation, Quest by CEQ Events Management, Revolve Introductions, Sang4 Technologies Incorporated, Sonken's Office Equipment Trading, Gaken, and GCash. What about a big hand for our suppliers and sponsors for the 2022 Procurement Summit? Okay, let me just put this down. Thank you, everyone. And you may enjoy and keep coming back to our exhibit during our free time. And you know what? You may also vote for your top 3 booths. How can you do that? Again, we have a QR code on your tables. Please do scan them and you can vote and cast your votes until 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's from now to 9 a.m. tomorrow. You can cast your votes for your top 3 booths from our exhibit over there outside. And now it's time to announce our winner of our first trivia question. And the question was, in what year was the first Procurement Summit conducted and where was it conducted? And the correct answer is, the first Procurement Summit was conducted in 2000. Yes, you are our winner of our first trivia question. Ma'am Rodalyn, where are you? Was it online? Oh, she's from our online attendees. Congratulations to you, and our event secretariat will coordinate with you on how you may claim your prize. Congratulations, Ma'am Rodalyn. And ladies and gentlemen, before we go out for our lunch, just a few more reminders for our activities this afternoon. Oh, and we would just like to mention that we are going to be having a raffle draw. So you have to come back up to tomorrow on our second day for you to have a chance to win in our raffle. We're going to be giving away a lot of prizes, so stick with us for our 2-day summit. Now, with my reminders, we will have our breakout sessions to further go to the details of innovative and sustainable public procurement. Our usherettes will lead the participants to their respective breakout rooms, while our Zoom participants, please log in through the links provided to you by the event secretariat. We will resume our sessions later at 1:30 in the afternoon. And lastly, please do not forget to evaluate today's event and speakers through our QR code found on your table. All the QR codes are on your table. And please accomplish the survey on community participation. Once again, the QR code is available on your tables. And for those in Zoom, use the link provided for you by the event secretariat in the Zoom chat box. So I guess this is it for me. Enjoy your lunch, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, GPPB TSO, for having me as your host for our morning session on your first day for 2022 Procurement Summit. Again, I am your host. I am 𝐿𝐿. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Victory.